Hi Charlie, welcome to the 68th day of my video polling experiment where I break down and analyze the LinkedIn poll that I posted last week and that closed this morning. Now, last week's poll question was unique because it was suggested to me by one of my wonderful voters and followers, and the question that he suggested was a poll comparing coffee and chai tea to determine which beverage my voters generally gravitated toward more. So, last week I asked the poll question, which beverage do you prefer? There were two options, as my follower indicated. Number 1, coffee, and number 2, chai tea. Now, much to my delight, this poll got 105 votes, which I consider to be a gold standard poll, that is, one with 100 or more votes, considering that my average votes per poll is 80 to 85. And I'm so happy that we got probably a decently representative sample of my voters to participate in this poll, and that chai tea, although underperforming coffee by a significant margin, was still well represented in the ranking. Now, of these 105 voters, 66% of them said that they preferred coffee, while 34% of them said that they preferred chai tea. Now, this isn't necessarily a surprise because coffee is a much more common beverage in the United States, and that is where most of my voters come from. Whereas chai tea, while I'm sure it's absolutely delicious, is a beverage that comes from India. Chai is a black tea with spices and herbs. It's typically brewed with milk and sweetened with sugar. So I'm sure it's a very delicious beverage. I'm sure it's very common in India and other countries in that region, but in the United States, it's not necessarily as well known, which is why I think that it was pretty well represented in this poll, considering the disadvantages that chai tea was at with this particular subset of individuals. Now, the chai tea market was worth $5.1 billion in 2024, and I think it still has plenty of room to grow in the United States, for instance, where it isn't that well known, but it can definitely gain a foothold here, as well as in other parts of the world. This chai tea market is expected to reach a net worth of $8.79 billion by 2023, which amounts to a 6.1% annual average growth rate from 2024 to 2023, which is quite an impressive growth rate and is probably outpacing inflation by at least double. Now, as for American tea spending in 2022, I was surprised that Americans are actually spending quite a bit of money on tea. It's becoming increasingly more popular in the United States and chipping away at coffee's long-standing dominance of the caffeinated beverage market. At-home tea spending amounted to $2.5 billion, or 18.7% of total tea spending. Outside the home, spending on tea amounted to $10.9 billion, or 81.3% of the tea spending total. Personally, I usually spend I think I spend all of my tea money on at-home tea consumption. I just buy packs of Lipton tea and make the tea at home myself because I haven't yet encountered any establishment, not even Starbucks, that has tea that is both affordable and that I know will actually taste good. I believe Starbucks has some sort of maybe chai tea or green tea beverage, but I'm very skeptical of the taste, to be completely honest, and the price is, to be quite frank, exorbitant for my financial situation. So I will just stick to making my Lipton tea at home and maybe try out chai tea someday just to see what it tastes like, because it sounds like it's absolutely delicious, and from the recipes and pictures that I've seen online, it really does look like a work of art. So anyway, thank you to all of my voters, followers, anyone who suggests these kind of poll questions. I am more than happy to implement these suggestions. I have gotten a few of them over the nearly 700 days that I've been posting these daily polls. I am always open to new ideas. I get my inspirations for these poll questions from newsletters, from real life, from conversations with various friends and loved ones, and of course from my wonderful LinkedIn community who maybe have specific questions that they've been talking about with their friends and they want a more quote-unquote scientific measurement of the distribution. I'm always happy to use my platform to kind of amplify those questions and stimulate those interesting discussions about trending topics, which I believe is what I should be using LinkedIn for, as kind of a way to, teach people new things, to bring people together, and to have that kind of community element to it, even with a simple poll that takes 5 seconds to vote on. So thank you so much to everyone who has suggested a poll idea to me. I'm so grateful for it, and I will continue to implement those suggestions into the future, and of course keep tagging the voters who suggested it to kind of give them credit where credit is due, to publicly thank them and say, you made a significant contribution to my 1,000-day LinkedIn polling experiment, and I'm really grateful for it. And I'm also grateful to you, Charlie, for listening to yet another one of my LinkedIn poll analysis spiels. And before I go, I would like to show you the poll as it appears on LinkedIn, just to prove I'm not making this up, and I really did implement this individual's suggestion. So here is the poll as it appears on LinkedIn. As I mentioned before, it got 105 votes. Coffee was the more popular option with 66% of the votes, but chai tea was certainly well represented with 34% of the votes. And even more interestingly, you can see in this bottom left-hand corner, this poll has 8 reactions. One of those reactions is from me, because every time I post a poll, I vote. I am the first voter, and I also put a like here just to boost the algorithm a little bit, but that means that 7 other people reacted to this poll, which is very good performance for this kind of poll. Usually I get maybe 1, 2, or 3 reactions, so getting 7 reactions from people who are not myself on a poll is, great performance, and probably contributed to the gold standard poll of 100+ votes. So just an interesting thing that I thought I'd point out. Anyway, Charlie, thanks again for listening to my analysis of last week's LinkedIn polls. Thank you to everyone who has voted on my polls, who has suggested poll ideas, or even who just, views my polls. I really appreciate every single one of you. I'm very grateful to my audience for all of the people who have accepted my connection requests and become part of my community. And I look forward to posting and talking about many, many, many hundreds more polls in the future. So thank you so much for listening, Charlie, and stay tuned for my 69th poll tomorrow. Have a wonderful day, and goodbye.